Nice flowers. Who's the lucky lady?
It's just a friend.
Boo.
Will you walk a little faster, said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you? Will you, won't you? Won't you join the dance?
And now we're not funny because we're being recorded and
I know,
watched.
right? Yeah. It's like the quantum effect, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as it's observed, we just collapse
It's
to
factor
an
X.
unfunny state. Oh, okay, that did not go well.
We should actually leave that in.
Like,
just like us being really awkward.
So here's a little director's commentary, so to speak. Well, director and one of the stars.
Yeah, I played Batman in the film. I might not look like Batman right now, but believe it or not, that was me.
Really, I couldn't tell.
It's real fireworks. That was a big discussion. Are we gonna do that or aren't we?
We actually shot this on the 4th of July. We were all like, how can we get production value, but for free? Let's just truck everyone down to Gasworks Park in Seattle. Casey actually wasn't there for that because I think you had to spend it with your wife, Alicia,
Yeah,
right?
I had to give her one day out of the week, you know, to to make her not kill me.
She was a real trooper though, like for real. Like she put up with a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
How did you get the idea for this film in the first place?
I was actually driving all the way from Virginia back home to Washington. I just had a lot of time to sit there and think about stuff, and I was like, hey, I've got this bat suit that I own, and you're a director, you know, why don't we make a
Superman film, right?
No.
That was my idea, but then like your idea was much better. It was like Batman films. Like we would have had to paint like the Batsuit red. It would have been crazy.
Yeah, it would have been pretty bad. But so we ended up going with Batman eventually, I guess. We started talking about how can we make this work with our budget and stuff that we already have. The hardest part was coming up with which villain we wanted to choose.
You're not in character, man. Where's your hat? Oh! You lost control! Oh, now you're off the control.
And I finally settled on the idea of doing the Mad Hatter because he's not a super special effects kind of character, for one, so it was a little bit easier, but also his story is really short and sweet. We've all been through stuff where we might have had feelings for somebody who didn't have feelings for us back.
Jervis, I'm so sorry. We made up after I got home.
Jervis is a pretty applicable person in the real world. He has kind of a nice guy syndrome where he thinks because he's a good guy that he should get what he deserves. His philosophy no longer became about earning that respect, but rather taking it. Well, now you have this grand power, so what would you do as being in the friend zone? And so he's just innately selfish.
Are you, the famous Batman, so intent upon destroying my happiness that you'll harm these poor, mind-warped innocents to get me?
That selfishness is what gets him in trouble with the Batman.
We're often taught by like movies and TV, oh, if you're just persistent enough, then you can get that person. Whereas it doesn't always like work out that way, and if you go too far, that can lead to some bad things happening.
We really went through, broke down, dived into the character, you know, studied him. I know that everybody's like happy because, you know, you get to see Batman in it, but inherently this isn't a Batman film. We tried to make Batman be as minimal as possible in the story because we didn't want to take that focus away from Jervis and his character development with Alice.
The carol is comprised of two basic components, a master and a slave card. Each is a sophisticated network of neural signal blockers and wireless transmitters.
We were lucky enough to have our really good friend Ryan Vanslyke. He broke down the psychology and all the science-y parts that we brought up in the first part of the film.
That sci-fi aspect was something that we weren't originally thinking about too much, but like it is kind of interesting. Technology is generally neutral. It's just the people and how people decide to use it that kind of makes it good or
Flip
bad.
this on and boom! You let a qualified professional work with your hands from miles away. This can save lives.
That was the good intention
Right.
of the device.
Perhaps I can make you act a bit more civilized.
The animated series goes into controlling the mice. It doesn't really give you any idea as to the full purpose. I felt like we really did it justice to kind of break it down into that and give it a really good real world purpose, which makes it even better when it gets abused, because you're like, man, this could have really been something great, you know. And like the fact that these people worked at Wayne Industries shows how that company was trying to help the world, whereas instead ultimately one of his employees goes off the deep end, you know, and kind of takes over.
Calais, no work today.
Sometimes there can also be like unethical ways in which that technology is developed in the first place.
Is this Jervis as a human being, or is this Jervis as his mind warping because of the device?
It is almost mind control.
We show the blood from his head and smoking of the device. What does it mean for the Mad Hatter? Why is he mad? We kind of like gave him almost a justification of being a bad guy because it's the technology that's warped his brain. Kind of like in Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus went crazy and mad when his technology took over. That's something I didn't even think of till now, but
I didn't either. That's
yeah,
good.
like that wasn't stolen or anything.
Retroactive symbolism.
Yeah.
Hashtag deep.
Yeah, but totally was purposeful.
It's
but
so
wasn't.
deep we didn't even like realize it. It just comes from our subconscious.
Yeah, exactly.
It
But
probably does, but like
I don't think so, though. I just thought of that. But
he's wiping off the lipstick from the kiss the night before. We chose that towel to be blue because that also resembles her dress, so it's like a little foreshadowing.
There he is! I simply must get through!
Sorry, simply impassable.
You mean impossible?
No, impassable. Nothing's impossible.
Yeah, it seems impossible to get in. Impassable, because nothing's impossible.
Okay. Well, here, let me.
one of our favorite parts is when Billy's asking Jervis.
Nice flowers. Who's a lucky lady?
It's just a friend.
It just really settles into this idea that, like, one, he doesn't even know that he's talking to her boyfriend, and two, he's also nervous, you know, nervously
Yeah, as
kind of
passionate
coming.
as he is about her, he's still afraid to share it with the world. He's bent so far in repressing his own passions, that's why he snaps so fast.
Jervis.
Hi.
What are you doing here?
She was brilliant actor.
Yeah.
The whole way through, memorized every line and was ready to go. We rarely had to do a double take for her. She's taller than all of us. It was harder for him, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, because Bobby's such a tall guy himself. Even she was like at the same height as him, so we had to give him apple boxes to make him look even bigger. Jervis is supposed to obviously be a short guy, because it really adds to the little man syndrome, you know, of like this idea of constantly being like looked down on.
Yeah, that's also why we opted for this almost Mr. Robot style framing, where characters occupy only a small part of the screen, and there's a lot of headroom. We actually first saw her, I think, in this Hunger Games fan film.
I wish Mom and Dad were here.
Willow Terrace.
She was playing one of the tributes. She's one of the main characters in that.
Stop!
Willow, get out of here!
Stop!
She was so young in it too.
The knife. Put it down.
But she was such a good actor that it was like, wow. So we ended up going with her.
Bleeding out from behind him. That's actually a direct homage to a scene from the animated series episode.
Can you believe it? I'm getting married. Jervis, your hand.
I remember when we were first writing this, he squeezes them and the blood comes out. It was symbolic of the blood dripping on the roses from at the end of the film when Alice ends up getting stabbed. One of the other kind of like really cool, interesting things that we were trying to figure out was, you know, like how does the card come into play here with the headband? In the stories, you know, he just has like this piece of paper and it's like, boom.
Please, Mr. Hat, go easy on us.
but they started out with headbands. So then we had it like kind of this modification to where he takes the headband and he modifies the technology of it into one of these little breadboards. Which, if you know anything about technology, this is not something that can be used actually to just slip on.
We were going to add more wires and stuff to it, but we just ran out of time.
Yeah, there's only so much to get done.
Yeah, there's that scene of him with a soldering iron doing soldering stuff, I guess.
This is the concept one that he goes off of, where he designs it so that way he can fit the technology of the card, you know, with this, which then, you know, creates the hat, which we don't ever actually show the headband and the hat, but you can just infer that, you know, he...
Well, George Lucas into like a special edition, you know, just like insert one all CGI shot of just like floating into there, like the opening to Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, and but I don't know where to go from there with that.
I don't either.
Jervis, you look nice.
We wanted to make Jervis's costume as authentic as can be. We used a lot of inspiration from the comics. It is very out there for clothing, hence why she's like, Jervis?
My vain attempt at a fancy dress holds but a candle to your glow. Compared to you, I'm quite a miss, you know.
Oh.
The entire time when he's fighting Batman, he's fighting to keep this hat on because that's where all
that's the only source of his power.
Yeah, that's the only source of his control is this little wizard hat that he has going on.
Side note, if he like went to Hogwarts, like what do you think it would be?
A Slytherin.
Slytherin? Like, yeah.
I don't know, actually.
He straight up just like brings his own sorting hat. He puts his hat on the sorting hat to tell the sorting hat how to sort him.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think, you know, because like, I think Jervis Tech is a different character than the Mad Hatter because we show the duality in here, you know.
Duality of man.
Yeah, of, you know, like I think initially he might be he might have been Hufflepuff, you know, and then the mental change, you know, kind of turned him into a Slytherin or Ravenclaw kind of guy, you know. I don't think he's a Gryffindor material in the slightest. Yeah, like I said, we were on our way moving here when we were writing the script, and then we ended up having to buy a house, so we had an empty house to shoot in.
Little bread and butterflies kiss the tulips.
Calais.
It would be kind of interesting to cut a version of
just from her perspective.
Yeah, we just cut out the scenes where she doesn't know what she's in control, so we just get that sense of disorientation.
Yeah, it'd be like a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
This?
It took a surprising amount of research to find out exactly how the EpiPen should look and sound. That's a pretty close approximation of what it actually sounds like in real life.
Yeah.
Although one thing that we definitely didn't get right was how long you're supposed to keep it in. I think it's supposed to be like 15 seconds, and he jabs it in. I think we're just thinking it'd be like that scene from Pulp Fiction where Uma Thurman gets the adrenaline to the heart, and it's like as soon as it makes contact with your skin, you're good.
Yeah, so some Pulp Fiction inspiration in here, for sure, you know.
That's a very nice way to put a mistake.
Yeah.
It was a homage.
No offense, Tarantino. We love your work.
Praise be.
Praise be.
That's a very threatening way to say praise be. Just like hold up at it.
All right, go ahead. 3, 2, 1, and action. Don't go too fast. We can always speed up later.
Like the very middle one bit, just like stop there, because that's where you see the need. I need right behind you to down.
Be careful with the flank, the left brake doesn't work.
Yeah, I know. I checked it out. Yeah, it's terrifying.
I love this Tarantino zoom, by the way.
Yeah. Praise be. Each time that we were getting one of the Tweedles on set, I was constantly having to flick the little propeller, and so that we probably did like 3 or 4 takes just trying to get the propeller correct. One of the funny parts about this is it's really hard to tell the distance from Billy to Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at one point it looks like they're so much closer than they are.
Right.
But it's like that tunnel is so large.
It honestly reminds me of that one scene from The Wolf of Wall Street when Leo DiCaprio is on Quaaludes and he's falling down those stairs. This shot is completely fake.
This is not the time to get scared, man. Boo.
Casey wasn't even in town when we shot this. We shot the part with the muggers at the real place in Seattle. But then shot Casey like a couple days later in front of a green screen. Boo. Boo. Boo.
Was that you saying boo or was that me?
Boo. Pretty sure that was you.
Okay.
I'd never said boo.
All right.
Is that like an insult where you're like,
no,
that
like
sounds like a Tommy boo.
Well, it did sound like you saying
See,
it.
I just turned that back on you.
Boo.
You know that.
I think it was me, but you know, it's the monotone.
Secretly it's me, I'm just not telling Casey.
Scared, man.
Boo.
Right now, I'm literally breathing out of my mouth and trying to talk without sounding like that.
The actual suit is a replica of the Batman 1989 film, Tim Burton starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
It's really messy here, Batman. A crime-fighting superhero should be more organized.
Tell that to Alfred. She hasn't finished unpacking.
Shut up!
How's it going, Alfred?
Chief's scared of me. He's like, what the hell is that? Pee on my carpet again, I dare you. Heard my praises.
The suit itself literally was so uncomfortable just to begin with.
I can't smell anything.
Oh, that's not really convenient.
Got a pretty bad case of the sniffles. Honda CRV 2016 model. Lucius Fox fixed it up for me.
So I guess the days of like having a flamethrower on the back of your car are behind you then?
It's not eco-friendly. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, not Gotham.
Do you guys have like recycling here or?
Unfortunately, county doesn't recycle. Criminal scum.
Did you just flash me? Now we'll find out who's under the mask.
But your hair's all sweaty already.
That's water.
Yeah,
In order to get it on, you have to wet it. It's a pain to get on.
Fighting crime?
It's hot.
Action.
That thing gets hot very quickly.
I saw seeping out the edges of your costume. You were sweating.
It mostly drips down the chest area and all. So I kept having to make sure that was cleaned off for each shot. If you've gone to any conventions in a rubber suit or
really seals in the flavor.
Yeah, really, it doesn't seal it in. If it's not sealed, it will leak. It looks cool, but it does not feel cool.
We got some really good reactions from people who were just passing by us in the tunnel though. We were all like, that's really cool. That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
It's good.
This is like the most prop heavy film that like we've ever done.
For sure, yeah. And it's definitely the biggest budget that we've ever done, self-funded, by the way.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Help us
make
in the
sure,
future.
Yeah,
this is not sustainable.
Yeah, make sure to definitely, find us on Patreon because doing this is brutal, like, am I gonna pay for this food today or am I going to, buy this prop for
or
this
the
movie?
child you're about to have.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a baby on the way and all this, and it's like, we're talking about other projects now and stuff, and give us your money. One of the hardest parts was writing Billy because he needed him for the EpiPen.
Are you okay?
It might happen again. I need my spare.
Where is it?
Billy, he always carries some just in case.
Alice's allergic reaction, which is something he had unplanned.
That's something that wasn't in the original episode, but something that we added in.
It adds to this idea that Jervis thinks he knows everything about this girl.
What's happening? Calais.
Oh, Burst, please.
But he's slowly realizing that the more control he has on her, the less control he actually has. Because he doesn't fully know, who she is. He only knows her on a surface level. Here's this guy that thinks he loves her, thinks he knows all this stuff and all, and it's like we're slowly finding out more and more that he doesn't know as much about her as he thinks he does.
Stay here.
Only if you do too.
Love is really all about that person that you love challenging you. By the way, you donate over $15 on Patreon, then we'll give you dating advice.
Yeah.
Personalized.
We can set up a Jervis Tinder. For all you little psychopaths out there.
We'll share the password with you guys. We'll just go crazy.
Yeah, go crazy.
See what happens.
No sharing Patreon passwords though. That's cheating.
Yeah.
Will you walk a little faster? Said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail.
A couple days before actually filming, I really want to have a reveal shot where we start close to her, Being pulled out like that opening shot from A Clockwork Orange. And I was wondering, what should she be saying?
Do you remember the Mock Turtle song?
Here's this Lewis Carroll poem.
Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, won't you join the dance?
She lived this role.
Straight up Heath Ledger writing in Alice's diary.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding, she didn't do
Yeah,
that.
no, she
oh
was-
God, I hope she didn't.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah,
but,
$50 on Patreon, unlock the Alice diary.
Alice diary, figure out what page
We need like a little buzzer to like tell the audience like what Patreon exclusives don't actually exist. What was she thinking when she was hypnotized? I want to know.
$5. What a deal. Yeah, so
I don't know how
anyways,
we could.
yeah.
Yeah, nice segue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't typically ride them, but I hear they're pretty fun.
There are so many rules we cannot bend, so many thoughts we mustn't entertain. But all fantasies with which I contend has made a world toward I cannot constrain.
Tony definitely had some really crazy talking heads too that he nailed as well. Almost all of his lines are a paragraph long. There are so many words in there that are not used on a daily basis.
Exactly.
You know, by an average person at all. He really did a great job with that.
And to share in this lifelong journey, the only right choice was
Me. I love you.
You don't have to say that.
Yes, I do.
Statistics prove that you've
got one birthday. Imagine just one birthday every year. Nice.
64 on birthdays. Precisely why we're gathered here to cheer. Well, today is my birthday too. Yes, what a small world this is.
You got the song down. In that case,
a very merry birthday to me, to you. A very merry birthday for me, for you. Now blow the candle out, my dear, and make your wish come true.
a very merry birthday to you. Nice, man.
Twinkle, twinkle, little bat.
You don't have to do this part.
I know. Such a good part, though.
Especially because he's actually like, holding it back there. Like,
yeah.
Ooh, pun.
Like a tickle in the sky.
Oh, that was lovely.
No. It's very rude to sit down without being invited.
I love your nose moving up and down. You don't even need to say a word, honestly. It's like I just can't talk.
Yeah,
just
action.
No.
It's very rude to sit down without being invited.
That was fucking good. That was, oh my.
It's really cool being able to see it coming to life.
As you're explaining what on birthday is, and then like suddenly she just like throws up.
Do you want the puke?
Not yet.
Even though we aren't book writers and stuff like that, writing a screenplay is much harder because you are limited to what you can do based upon budgeting and practical effects. There's very little special effects that we have. Almost all of it's sold by our actors' performances. That's the fun of learning about the characters because they're human too. They go home every day and they have their own personal life, you know, and they do their own thing. And, you know,
Submit your fan fiction in the comments below.
Yeah, and yeah.
Casey did a really good job of decorating this table.
I used Gatorade for all the cups.
For all of the exotic teas.
I went out and bought 8 different things of Gatorade.
Yeah.
You know, some for the crew and then some for that and all. And then we had all these cupcakes.
Bouncing almost like you're kind of hiding between the teapots. Distance prove that.
Tommy, please back up from the table.
That's enough! Off with his head!
Snapping of the bat was actually done by my wife, not by Batman. Because it's really hard to snap a bat when you're in a suit.
Your wife is stronger than Batman.
Yeah.
It's just, it's fact. That's math.
So Colin, who played Billy in the film, me and him actually went over the choreography. There's a scene where I kick him and he actually ended up going through the wall.
Yeah, there's like a hole in there. Did you guys ever fix that, by the way?
Yeah, it's all patched up now.
I actually thought that the batarang sound wasn't really gonna work when I heard it, but then you showed me the actual scene from the '89 movie. And it's the exact same sound, so I'm like, okay.
What would Tim Burton do?
Yeah. Most of the actors never saw you in the batsuit. We actually didn't even have access to the batsuit for most of the shooting days because it was locked away in storage.
Yeah, because of my move out here. We were waiting on the shipping truck to get here, and we luckily were able to actually get it at the last second. It was literally the final shots. This was like the final moment of the night.
Go. No. No.
We were all had our like phones out. I remember I was trying to do a slow motion video and it goes slow motion all the way up until the moment of the flip and then it speeds up. And I'm just like, no! In this moment right here, you can see 2 cupcakes up in the air
yeah.
flying around. Really unfortunate that we couldn't eat them afterwards.
This one survives. I don't even know if we like shot this as reacting to the stupidity of what just happened there. I think this was after I called cut. This is when you start walking forward toward me just to like discuss something.
Hit play.
Cut. You see what I mean there?
That's funny. I didn't even notice that.
I'm late for a very important date.
As ironic as it is, following the White Rabbit, you know, no time. Constantly checking his pocket watch. That was literally me the entire time looking at you going, no time.
Our schedules were super tight. I live in LA, and so I was only up here for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, 2.5 weeks. If you heard no time, you were either laughing or you were panicking because you knew that another hour or 2 was coming up. Because it's so out of character for you. That was probably one of the most aggravating parts on set was seeing you passive aggressive. If you could imagine Tommy as a passive aggressive sticky note, that's basically what he was.
Engrave that into my tombstone. He was a passive aggressive sticky
note.
note.
We won't even engrave it. We'll just put a sticky note on your gravesite.
Oh, just like carve a sticky note
Here
out of
lies
stone.
the director, Tommy, who now has nothing but time.
The director. Oh my.
This is Colin's really great performance right here as Billy.
And cut. Nice. That was awesome. All right, moving on.
That shot right there is just so creepy. The way that he gets up.
He just stopped so fast I could barely follow the camera.
That quick movement upward was just so bizarre and creepy. It shows like the weird control that Jervis has over him to where like your body would mechanically move like that, you know, sort
like
of.
Puppet master kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like he really sold that idea of the puppet master.
We also got to give some credit to Nicole for her great reaction shot here. So this is what they call like a Spielberg shot. In Jurassic Park, if Steven Spielberg showed you the dinosaurs and then the people reacting, it wouldn't be as dramatic as if the way he actually does it, which is first he shows the people reacting to the dinosaurs. So you're building up anticipation. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what these characters are seeing. And then you cut to the dinosaurs and you're like, holy shit, there's dinosaurs.
How fast are they? Well, we clocked the T-Rex to 32 miles an hour.
Really good makeup effects from Tiffany.
She does a lot of makeup projects for community Halloween horror shows, and she's done a bunch of other films as well. She's really good. There's a surprising amount of good gore and horror makeup artists in the Pacific Northwest area.
Yeah,
I have no idea why.
There's like a very huge following for horror gore movies in general.
Didn't like grunge kind of start in the Seattle area too?
Yeah, grunge started from Nirvana.
For such a low-key state as Washington is, there are a good number of really good-looking locations that we use.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing that we were able to find as many cool places in one state at all.
In the Nolan trilogy, they use Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, Chicago looks like Gotham. Seattle looks like Crime Alley. You know, it doesn't necessarily just look like Gotham. It looks like Crime Alley. It's pretty bad.
Well, I know who's never running for mayor.
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan for how these shots turned out. Because the camera's at about her waist, it makes the house look like it's kind of shrunk down. Almost like the scene from Alice in Wonderland where she has to get through that tiny little door.
Come and join the chase. Bottom to the top!
I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to.
Everybody's screaming. We just moved into this place like not even a week ago. And so I'm like sitting here all paranoid, like that the neighbors are gonna call the police because they're hearing like an altercation. Billy, please stop, you know.
Billy, please, I know you're in there.
Nobody even like peeped over to be like, hey, is everybody okay, you know, or something like that. Luckily, apparently my neighbors don't give a shit about
I love that shot so much. You just whip it into the camera.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
So here it took some finessing with the edit to cross-cut between what's happening with Jervis and Batman and what's happening with Billy and Alice. Because we do want to establish a relationship between what happens to Jervis's hat affects what happens to his control over Billy. And there's not really much dialogue until the very last moment that indicates that this is the case. So how do we convey that to the audience without telling them that this is what's happening now?
And that for those of you who don't notice, he actually loses his knife, which is in the flowers right there. And that knife came from his hat that he had left there.
It's actually like the same knife he used to spread the butter on the bread and butterflies.
Yep. I showed this to a couple people.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, oh, I didn't even notice the knife. And I was like, well, what do you think killed Alice, you know? The flowers, you know, the thorns pierced her heart, you know, like she lost the will to live. Some prequel style, you know, death here. This ending though is like so awesome. That shot is just so perfect.
I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. And, you know, if you stuck it out for, you know, this long of the breakdown, we really appreciate it. You know, it's been a lot of hard work. Our actors, sound crew, everybody on the set really put their A game on to put this together. Coming as a Batman fan, I'm so critical of what I see on TV or movies and games or even in the comics. I've always nitpicking this and that here and there, and me being a perfectionist and then writing my own thing, you know, it's like...
It's a humbling experience.
Yeah, it is. I don't feel like we ever settled, and that was the best part. There was no like, well, let's not do that because of this. We wrote it so we could do everything that we wrote. But we also made it an amazing story that I think is worthy. Honestly, I think we did a better job of introducing Jervis to the world as the Mad Hatter than the Gotham TV show did. And I want to say that it's just as good as the one from the Batman cartoon series.
It was a really special project because everyone involved had their own things to bring to the table. And in the end, the fact that I was able to use my cinematography to show off Casey's amazing costuming skills and Tiffany's makeup, all the actors' amazing ability to act, it really became a film that's more than the sum of its parts. I'm just so thankful to the whole cast and crew for sticking out with us and like taking a chance and rolling the dice. And we hope to make a lot more films like this in the future about like different subjects with different tones, different characters, and different universes.
Once again, thank you so much for your support. If you share this with your friends and family or people who just love superhero stuff in general, you know, it really does go a long way for us. We learned a lot from this film, and we'll get into that too, you know, all the little kinks and stuff like that for you who maybe want to do some short film of your own. I know tons of people in the cosplay community want to cross over into the film industry. This was all self-funded. This was made by the fans for the fans. This isn't anything else other than that. So please hit like and subscribe. And make sure that if you haven't joined us on Patreon, make sure to go and do that. It really helps us out. And it helps also you guys be able to be in kind of direct contact with us and be like, hey, I have this crazy idea and all, and we, you know, we might be like, wow, that's actually a really cool thing.
Yeah,
and,
you never know where a good idea is gonna come from.
Yeah,
we had
exactly.
so many coming from you, from me, from the actors.
There's so much that like you guys as the fans can bring to the table for us. Maybe like some, you know, criticism about like, hey, you guys should have done it this way or that way and all, you know, or like, hey, you guys should do this, or I really liked how you did that. Get in conversation with us. We're gonna have a tier in there where you guys can literally get a conference call with us. We wanna hear what you guys want and we wanna be able to put that out. So help us to help you. Stay safe out there and be healthy.
Yeah. What he said.
Praise be.